It was just another quiet afternoon at the diner, rain tapping gently on the windows, the smell of fresh coffee in the air, when Mia noticed a little boy standing alone near the entrance. He looked no older than 6, holding a stuffed bear tightly in his arms, eyes scanning the room with confusion and fear. Mia, a kind-hearted waitress known for her warm smile and big heart, didn't hesitate. She crouched down, gently asked his name, and offered him a cup of hot chocolate while trying to calm his nerves. As she listened to his shaky voice, Mia realized the boy had wandered away from his mother in the chaos of the city. He didn't know her phone number. He barely remembered her name. But what he did know, his mom wore a fancy dress, always worked on a big computer, and drove a shiny black car, was enough for Mia to guess she wasn't just any mom. Still, Mia's only concern was getting the boy home safely. Without calling attention to herself, she stayed by his side, doing everything she could to help him feel safe, even while handling her usual tables and cleaning up spilled drinks. What Mia didn't know was that the woman frantically searching for her son across the city wasn't just any mother. She was one of the most powerful CEOs in the country. And when their paths finally cross, it will change both of their lives in ways neither of them could have imagined. Mia wrapped a warm blanket around the boy's shoulders and sat him at a booth near the window, where she could keep an eye on him while waiting tables. She didn't press too hard with questions, just enough to learn his name was Leo, and he had gotten separated from his mom at a busy shopping center nearby. He didn't remember the name of the store, but he kept repeating, "Mommy was talking to important people." Mia guessed his mother had been in some kind of meeting, maybe for work. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Back in the city, panic was setting in for Evelyn Hart, a powerful CEO known for running one of the most successful tech companies in the country. She wasn't just smart and successful, she was relentless. But at that moment, none of that mattered. Her son was missing. Security teams had been alerted, employees were searching every corner of the mall, and Evelyn was combing the streets herself, refusing to sit still. For someone used to being in control, this was her worst nightmare. Meanwhile, back at the diner, Mia called the local police to report Leo's situation, but the line was busy. A storm was causing chaos all over town, and it would be a while before help arrived. Mia glanced at the door, heart pounding. She didn't know who this little boy belonged to or what world he came from, but something told her this was no ordinary lost child. Mia checked the time on the wall clock, nerves tightening. It had been almost an hour since Leo wandered into the diner, and no one had come looking for him. She offered him a grilled cheese and tried to keep things light, but he barely touched his food. Every so often, he'd glance at the door, hoping his mom would appear. Mia couldn't stop wondering why someone hadn't called, hadn't shown up, especially if his mother was someone important. It just didn't add up. Across town, Evelyn's driver finally convinced her to let the police take over, but she refused to stop searching. Her security team had been combing through surveillance footage, but with traffic stalled and the rain getting heavier, nothing was moving quickly. Every second that passed made her more frantic. Evelyn wasn't used to showing emotion, especially not in public, but today was different. This wasn't a boardroom crisis. This was her son. Back at the diner, Mia's boss started growing impatient. "You've got tables to clear," he reminded her. She didn't blame him. He didn't know the situation, but it made her more anxious. Should she try calling the news station? Post on social media? She didn't want to make the boy's life harder, especially if his family was private or wealthy. Something in her gut told her this wasn't just about a lost child anymore. Then, just as she bent down to pick up Leo's napkin from the floor, he whispered something that made her freeze. "Mommy told me never to tell strangers her real name." Mia paused, staring at Leo. His words echoed in her mind. Never tell strangers her real name. It wasn't something a regular kid would say unless he'd been coached carefully. Maybe his mother wasn't just rich. Maybe she was someone really important. Mia's thoughts raced, trying to piece it all together. What if the wrong person had found him first? What if that's what his mother had been afraid of all along? She gently asked him, "Is your mommy in danger?" Leo hesitated, then looked away. "She says people don't like when she's in charge." That sent a chill down Mia's spine. Outside, the storm grew worse, thunder rumbling through the dark sky. The diner lights flickered once, then came back on. Leo clutched his bear tighter, his small fingers trembling. Meanwhile, Evelyn was sitting in the back of her car, drenched from the rain, as her assistant read off updates. No sightings, no calls. Police scanners were busy with weather-related emergencies. Her driver mentioned they were near a diner known for staying open during storms. On instinct, she told him to stop. Back at the diner, a man in a long coat had just stepped in from the storm, scanning the room slowly. Something about him made Mia uneasy. He didn't order food, didn't speak, just stood near the door watching. Mia quickly moved closer to Leo, heart pounding. Was he just another customer, or someone else looking for the boy? And if so, why didn't he smile when he saw him? Mia's instincts screamed that something was off. The man by the door hadn't taken his eyes off Leo since he walked in. His clothes were too clean for someone out in a storm, and when another customer tried to make small talk, he didn't respond. Mia bent down beside Leo and whispered, "Do you know that man?" Leo shook his head slowly, eyes wide. But then he added something strange. "He looks like one of the men Mommy talks to in the building with all the glass." Mia's heart dropped. That wasn't just any building, she knew exactly which one Leo meant. The sleek glass tower downtown that belonged to Heartech, the billion-dollar tech company run by Evelyn Hart. Suddenly, everything clicked. This wasn't just a random man. He was connected to Leo's mother, maybe even part of her security team, or worse, someone who had access to her world without her trust. The man moved a step closer, casually scanning the booths. Mia stood up quickly, placing herself between him and the boy. "Can I help you with something?" she asked, voice steady. The man smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just waiting for someone," he said. Outside, a black SUV pulled up, tires screeching against the wet pavement. Evelyn jumped out before it even stopped, racing toward the diner entrance. But before she could reach the door, the man inside reached into his coat. Mia's breath caught. She didn't know who he was, but she knew she had seconds to act. Mia didn't think, she just moved. Scooping Leo into her arms, she stepped back toward the kitchen, shielding him from the man's view. Her voice trembled as she called out, "Someone call the police." The diner went quiet. The man paused, his hand halfway into his coat. But before anything else could happen, the door slammed open, and Evelyn burst in, drenched and breathless, yelling, "Leo!" The boy's head snapped up. "Mommy," he cried, wriggling free from Mia's arms and running to her. Evelyn dropped to her knees, pulling him into a tight hug. Her relief was raw, tears mixing with the rain on her face. The man at the door took one step forward, but Evelyn's security team, following close behind her, stormed in and grabbed him before he could say a word. "He's not with us," one of them barked. "We lost track of him after a board meeting last week. Fired for leaking internal files." Evelyn's eyes turned cold as she looked at the man. "You followed my son," she said quietly, her tone deadly calm. The man didn't speak, just glared as he was escorted out. Mia stood frozen, trying to take it all in. Evelyn walked up to her, still holding Leo. "You saved my son," she said softly. "You have no idea who I am, do you?" Before Mia could answer, Leo tugged his mother's sleeve. "Can she come work with us?" Evelyn smiled. "Actually, I was thinking something more permanent." Mia blinked, unsure if she'd heard right. "Permanent?" she asked, still catching her breath. Evelyn nodded, cradling Leo close. "Someone like you, kind, quick-thinking, loyal, those are rare qualities. I don't just want to offer you a job. I want to offer you a new start. You looked after my son like he was your own. That means more to me than anything." The storm outside had begun to calm, the rain slowing to a drizzle. Inside the diner, The tension had melted into quiet awe. Mia's manager, who'd been watching from behind the counter, gave a small nod of approval. He might have been tough, but even he knew something special had just happened. Later that evening, the police confirmed the man was being investigated for corporate espionage. Evelyn's team had been tracking unusual activity for weeks, but no one expected it to come this close to her personal life. She couldn't stop thinking about what might have happened if Leo had ended up in the wrong hands. And Mia, just a humble waitress, had been the one to stand between him and danger. As Evelyn and Leo prepared to leave, she handed Mia a card with her personal number and company logo. "Take your time deciding," she said, "but if you're ready for a new chapter, I'll be waiting." Mia watched the SUV pull away, heart full. She hadn't planned for any of this. But maybe sometimes life puts you exactly where you're needed most. And sometimes kindness opens doors even money can't.